10,000! It was an army built for a single purpose, to destroy the world of men. This is day 7 of reading The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings trilogy. For every one follower, I will read one word. Today's we have this many followers, and we will have to read this many words. God damn! I think we're getting on to another chapter now. Isn't this like the best Lego set ever been made? Swords in these parts are mostly blunt, and axes used for trees and shields are cradles or dish covers, and dragons are comfortably far off, and therefore legendary. That is why settled on burglary, especially when I remember the existence of a side door. And here is our little Bilbo Baggins, the burglar, the chosen and selected burglar. So now let's get on and make some plans. Very well then, said Thorin. Supposing the burglar expert gives us some ideas or suggestions. He turned with a mock politeness to Bilbo. First, I thought I'd like to know a bit more about things, said he, feeling all confused and a bit shaky inside. But so far, still tookishly determined to go on with things. I mean about the gold and the dragon and all that, and how it got there, and who it belongs to, and so on and further. Bless me, said Thorin, haven't you got a map, and didn't you hear our song, and haven't we been talking about this for hours? All the same, I should like it all plain and clear, said he obstinately, putting on his business manner, usually reserved for people who try to borrow money off him, and doing his best to appear wise and prudent and professional and live up to Gandalf's recommendation. Also, I should like to know about risks, out-of-pocket expenses, time required, and remuneration, and so forth, of which he meant, what am I going to get out of it? And am I going to come back alive? Oh, very well, said Thorin. Long ago, in my grandfather Thrall's time, our family was driven out to the far north, and came back with all their wealth and their tools to this mountain on the map. It had been discovered by my far ancestor Thrain the Old, but now my mind and they tunnelled and had made huger halls and greater workshops. And in addition, I believe they found a good deal of gold and great many jewels too. Anyway, they grew immensely rich and famous, and my grandfather was king under the mountain again, and treated with great reverence by the moral men who lived to the south and were gradually speeding up the running river as far as the valley overshadowed by the mountain. They built the merry town of Dale there. In those days, kings used to send for our smiths and reward even the least skillful most richly. Fathers would beg to take their sons as apprentices and pay us handsomely, especially in food supplies, which we never bothered to grow or find ourselves. Although we were good days for us, and the poorest of us had money to spend and lend, and leisure to make beautiful things just for the fun of it, not to speak of the most marvellous and magical toys, the like of which it is not to be found in the world nowadays. So my grandfather's halls became full of armour and jewels and cravings and cups. And the toy market of Dale was the wonder of the north. Wonder. Undoubtedly that there was brought the dragon. Dragons steal gold and jewels, from men and elves and dwarves and wherever they can find them. And they guard their plunder as long as they live, which is particularly forever unless they are killed. And never enjoy a brass ring of it. Indeed, they hardly know a good bit of work from a bad, though they usually have a good notion of the current market value, and they can't make things for themselves, not even mend a little loose scale of their armour. These were lots of dragons in the north in those days, and gold were probably getting scarce up there. With the dwarves flying south or getting killed, all of the general waste and destruction that dragons make going from bad to worse. There was a most specially greedy, strong and wicked form called Smaug. One day he flew up into the air and came south. The first we heard of it was a noise like a hurricane coming from the north, and the pine trees of the mountain creaking and cracking in the wind. Some of the dwarves who happened to be outside, I was one luckily, a fine adventurous lad in those days, always wandering about, and it saved my life that day. Well, from a good way off, one of the dragons from settled the mountain in a spout of flame. Then he came down the slopes and he reached the woods, all that went mountain in spout of flame. Then he came down the slopes, and when he reached the woods, they all went up in fire. By the time all the bells were ringing in Dale and the warriors were arming, the dwarves rushed out of their great gate, but with their dragon waiting for them. None escaped that way. The river rushed in the stream, a fog fell on Dale, and the dragon came on them and destroyed most of the warriors. The usual unhappy story. It was only too common in those days. Then he went back and crept all through the front gate and routed all the halls and lanes and tunnels, alleys, cellars, mansions and passages. After that, there were no dwarves left inside, and he took all of their wealth for himself. Probably for that is the dragon's way, as he piled it all up in a great heap for him far inside, and sleeps on it as a bed. Later he used to crawl out of the great gate and come by night to Dale, and carry away people, especially maidens, to eat, until Dale was ruined and all the people dead or gone. What goes on there now, I don't know for certain, but I don't suppose anyone lives nearer the mountain than far edge of Long Lake nowadays. The few of us that were there well outside sat up and wept in hiding, and cursed Smaug, and they were unexpectedly joined by my father and my grandfather with signed beards. They looked very grim, but they said very little. When I asked how they got away, and they told me how to hold my tongue, and said one day, in proper time, I should know. After that, we went away, and we have had to earn our livings as best as we could, up and down the lands, often enough sinking as low as blacksmith work or even coal mining. But we have never forgotten our stolen treasure, and even now, when I will allow, we have a good bit laid and not so badly off. Here, Thorin stroked the gold chain around his neck. We still mean to get it back, and the bringer curses home to Smaug if we can. I have often wondered about my father and my grandfather's escape. I see now they must have spent a private side door which only they knew about. But apparently they made a map, and I should like to know how Gandalf got hold of it. And why did it not come down to me, the rightful heir? I did not get hold of it, I was given it, said the wizard. Your grandfather Thrall was killed, you remember, in the mines of Moria by Azog the Goblin. Curse his name, said Thorin. And Thrain, your father, went away on the 21st of April, 100 years ago last Thursday, and has never been seen by you since. True, said Thorin. Well, your father gave me this to give to you, and if I have chosen my own time and my way of handling it over, you can hardly blame me, considering the trouble I had to find you. Your father could not remember his own name when he gave me the paper, and he never told me yours. So on the whole, I think I ought to be praised and thanked. Here it is, said the handling and the map to Thorin. I don't understand, said Thorin, and Bilbo felt he would have liked to say the same. The explanation did not seem to explain. Your grandfather, said the wizard, slowly and grimly, gave the map to his son for safety, but before he went to the mines of Moria. Your father went away to try his luck with the map after your grandfather was killed, and lots of adventures of utmost unpleasant sort he had. But he had never gotten near the mountain. Now he got there, I don't know, but I found him a prisoner in the dungeons of the Necromancer. Whatever were you doing there, said Thorin, with a shudder, and all the dwarves shivered. Never you mind, I was finding things out as usual, and a nasty dangerous business it was. Even I, Gandalf, only just escaped. I tried to save your father, but it was too late. He was witless and wandering, and he had forgotten almost everything except the map and the key. We have long ago paid the goblins of Moria, said Thorin. We must give a thought to the Necromancer. Don't be absurd, he is an enemy far beyond the powers of all the dwarves put together. If they could all collect it again from our four corners of the world, the one thing that your father wished was for his son to read the map and use his key. The dragon and the mountain are more than big enough task for you. Hear, hear, said Bilbo, and accidentally said it aloud. Hear what? They all said, turning suddenly towards him, and he was so flustered and he answered, Hear what I have got to say. What's that? They asked. Well, I should say that you ought to go east and have a look around. After all, there is a side door and dragons must sleep sometimes, I suppose. If you sit on the doorstep long enough, I dare say you will think of something, and well, don't you? I think we have all talked long enough for one night. If you see what I mean, what about bed and an early night and all that? I'll give you a good breakfast before you go. Before we go, I suppose you mean, said Thorin. Aren't you the burglar? And isn't this sitting on your doorstep your job? Not to speak of getting inside the door, but I agree about bed and breakfast. I like 6 eggs with ham. We're starting on a journey, fried not poached, and mind you don't break 'em. After all the others had ordered their breakfast without so much as a please, which annoyed Bilbo very much, they all got up. The Hobbit had to find a room for them all, and filled his spare rooms and made beds on chairs and sofas before they got them all stowed up and went on his own little bed, very, very tired and not altogether happy. One thing he said, make his mind up about not to bother to get up early and cook everybody's else's wretched breakfast, the tookishness was wearing off, and he was not quite too sure that he was going on a journey in the morning. As he lay in bed, he could hear Thorin still humming to himself in the best bedroom next to him. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away a break of day to find our long-forgotten gold. Bilbo went to sleep, and that in his ears, and gave it him very uncomfortable dreams. It was long after the break of the day when he woke up. Chapter 2. We ain't finished yet. Up jumped Bilbo, putting on his dressing gown, and went into the dining room. There he saw nobody, with all the signs of a large and hurried breakfast. There was a fearful mess in the room, and the piles unwashed crocks in the kitchen. Nearly every pot and pan possessed seemed to have been used. The washing up so dismally real that Bilbo was forced to believe the party was the night before he had not been a part of his bad dreams. As he had rather hoped, indeed, he was really relieved after all the think he had gone up with him, and without bothering to wake him up, but with never a thank you, he thought. And yet, in a way, he could not help feeling just a trifle disappointed. The feeling surprised him. "Don't be a fool," Bilbo Baggins said to himself, "thinking of dragons and all that outlandish nonsense at your age." So he put on an apron, lit fires, boiled water, and washed up. Then he had a nice little breakfast in the kitchen before turning out the dining room. By that time, the sun was shining and the front door was open, letting in a warm spring breeze. Bilbo began to whistle loudly and forgot about the night before. In fact, he was just sitting down to a nice little second breakfast in the dining room by the open when in walked Gandalf. "My dear fellow," said he, "whenever you are going to come, what about an early start? And here you are, having breakfast, or whatever you call it, at 10:30. They left you with a message because they could not wait." "What message?" said poor Mr. Baggins, all in a fluster. "Great elephant," said Gandalf. "You are not at all yourself this morning. You have never dusted the mantelpiece. What's got to do with it?" "I have had enough to do with the washing up for 14. If you had dusted the mantelpiece, you would have found just under the clock," said Gandalf, and handing Bilbo a note, written, of course, on his own notepaper. This is what he read. "Thorin and company to Burglar Bilbo greeting. For your hospitality, our sincerest thanks, and for your offer of professional assistance, our greater acceptance. Terms: cash on delivery, up to and not exceeding the 14th of total profits, if any. All travelling expenses guaranteed in any event. Funeral expenses to be defrayed by us or our representatives, if occasion arises, and the matter, if not otherwise, arranged for. Thinking it unnecessarily to disturb your esteemed repose, we have proceeded to advance to make requisite preparations and shall await your respected person at the Green Dragon Inn, Bywater, at 11 a.m. sharp, trusting that you will be punctual. We have the honour to remain yours deeply, Thorin and company." "That leaves you just 10 minutes. You'll have to run," said Gandalf. "But," said Bilbo. No time for it," said the wizard. "But," said Bilbo again. "No time for that either. Off you go." To the end of his days, Bilbo could never remember how he found himself outside without a hat, a walking stick, or any money, or anything that he usually took when he went out. Leaving his second breakfast half finished and quite unwashed up, pushing the keys into Gandalf's hands and running as fast as his furry feet could carry him down the lane, past the great mill, across the water, and then for a mile more. Very puffed he was when he got to the Bywater, just on the stroke of 11, and found he had come without a pocket handkerchief. "Bravo," said Balin, who was standing at the inner door looking out for him. And that is the end of today's read. We're getting there. We've made a dent. We've made a dent. I'm proud. I'm very proud of all of you for getting me this far. It's a good, sizable chunk, as always. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.